All right.
So,
Okay. All right. Here we go. So, there we go. All right. I'm in the city of Madison, City Hall, and I am about to file a report for a motion to dismiss. Motion to dismiss. So, when you are exercising free speech, some police officers decide to violate your rights because you hurt someone else's feelings. And it's like retaliatory. Or if someone's gay and they have a gay police officer as a friend, or the friend of a friend of a friend of a friend's, that gay community member will ask his friend of a 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 friend who is also in the gay community to do you a favor and retaliate for you in a way that would hurt the person who hurt your feelings, but they won't get in trouble. So that's the gay community. They use people in positions of authority to do themselves a favor and hurt people in the community who are hurt your feelings. So if you're the kid who lied to the police department and said that I was harassing him, still hasn't explained to me or anybody else how I managed to find this kid so often to do the harassing. So they said it was harassment without providing the details for the harassment. So harassment, according to the Constitution, has to be so pervasive, has to happen so much that this person is basically following you, or they work with you, or they go to school with you, or they live right next to you and they watch you every single day for an opportunity to say or do something to you that's harassing. That's pervasive. And there's no way you can get away from it because you go to school together, you work together, and that's when it becomes disorderly behavior because this person can't escape you. So these people wrote down harassment without just providing the details of harassment. So what actually happened? And if this was harassment, how did it actually take place so often that you could never escape him? He doesn't live next to you. He doesn't he doesn't go to school with you. He doesn't work with you. So how was this person able to find you so much to call you names that you that you couldn't escape the name calling? That's essentially what you said. You said he called you a black faggot so much that you couldn't escape the name calling. How? He has to be stalking you in order to do that. Or he has to work with you or go to school. That's where it commonly takes place. When you get disorderly conduct for name calling, it's usually because you work with the person, you go to school with the person, or you know how to follow that person so much that they can't get away from you calling them a name. That's how harassment works. So they wrote down harassment without actually describing how the harassment got so bad that they were able to, he couldn't get away from being called names. So that's illegal. So the police officer took a report, called it something without actually just investigating the reality of the claim. So he created an illusion that harassment took place without the gravity, energy without gravity. So an idea without the details, the gravity behind it requires you tell everybody the history in detail of how this person managed to call you names so much that you absolutely felt like there was no way you could get away from them. That's harassment. And when harassment gets that bad, it becomes criminal. Name calling alone is not criminal behavior. And profanities is not criminal behavior. Yelling in public is not criminal behavior. These are freedoms given to every American to express themselves in public. And the only time it becomes illegal is if you if you add threats. So if you get mad, so mad you want to hurt somebody, and you tell that person, I want to hurt you, or in any way, any fashion, any form, it becomes illegal. It becomes a criminal offense, and your First Amendment is no longer protected. So you can't say, I felt like saying that, or that was my opinion, or that's what I was thinking. You can't do that, because now you put you said you're going to hurt somebody, and that's not a freedom given to Americans. You can't tell people you want to hurt them. You can't actually hurt people. But what is a freedom is telling people how you feel without any sense that they're going to be harmed. That's an American freedom. What else is an American freedom? Another American freedom is, what do you call that? What did I wrote on here? Oh, use yelling and swearing together. So the illusion of disorderly comes from people, can arise from people who are yelling and swearing together. So let's just say you say the F word while you're talking, or while you're talking to somebody, or around children, or whatever the case may be. It's usually not that bad. It's like, it looks like in passing, like a normal conversation. But when you yell and you swear too, some people get the perception that, hey, is that allowed? It is allowed. It's still allowed. It's always allowed, because nothing has changed. Yelling is protected. Swearing is also protected. Putting the two together doesn't change the reality that each aspect of what you just did is protected. So, I don't know. I'm guessing an illusion can be created that is disorderly, but nothing has changed in reality. In reality, you have the freedom of speech to do both. And then, what's the other thing? The only thing that would change is if you added a threat. So that's the only threshold. The United States Supreme Court, I wrote here that the universal standards for disturbing the peace that the Supreme Court of the United States determined to be the most consistent across the states was if threats or the potential for violence was created by a person's actions. Anger is an expression that is as much of a freedom as any other emotion. Control of your emotions to prevent violence, the potential for violence, or an audible true threat protects your freedom to express yourself. Monitoring your expression ensures the First Amendment protects the nature of anger from becoming criminal. So that's how the law works, and it's like a guaranteed way to know that every time someone gets angry, every time someone yells, every time someone swears, you know for a fact when their behavior becomes disorderly. It becomes disorderly when they utter a threat. When they speak a threat, it becomes disorderly. When violence occurs. So if someone gets hurt because of the words someone else spoke, it is disorderly behavior. It becomes disorderly behavior. That is the only threshold in America. That's the threshold across the United States of America. And police officers, for some reason, here in Madison, Wisconsin, the Madison Police Department don't understand simple laws, like First Amendment. It's a simple law. People can swear in public. People can yell in public. People can do both together. It is a simple law. The question you have to ask as a police officer is, did they make a threat? Did they make a threat? Did they make a threat? If they did not make a threat, you have no disorderly behavior. That's the threshold you have to meet. Is there a potential for violence? Is anybody about to be hurt? Or did violence occur because of the words that were spoken? That's the threshold. That's the threshold that police officers have to look for whenever they're talking about freedom or words people spoke. So if the officer doesn't follow that rule, if the officer doesn't follow the Constitution, he knows what he's doing. If you explain that to a police officer and he says, no, that's not true, he is purposefully violating your rights. And he knows there's no consequences for him, which is why he is retaliating because his feelings were hurt or because somebody in the gay community's feelings were hurt. So gay people learned how to work around the law and use police officers to retaliate or do something for them that they would get in trouble for. So if you felt angry, you want to hurt somebody because of something they said to you, you go tell a police officer and tell the police officer that you felt threatened, or you felt your feelings were hurt, or you're scared, or whatever the case may be. And that police officer can cite the person who threatened you, who hurt your feelings, who said something to you that you didn't like. And that officer won't really get in trouble for his actions. That's what gay people do for gay people. So in reality, I was never supposed to be charged for a crime, but I guess somebody thought I'd be too dumb to fight for my rights, or I wouldn't know I was entitled to freedom of speech. It's a law that very few people know, right? Well, if you're uneducated, or if you're poor, you don't know you have a freedom of speech. Who knows their constitutional rights? Usually, it's not something we're taught in school. The details of your First Amendment, we're not taught that in school. We're given an idea of a constitution, but we're not educated about the details. So I think the police officer thought I was so stupid that I wouldn't know I had a right to speak freely, or profanity wasn't illegal according to the United States Constitution unless it has threats involved or violence ensues. So the officer either thought I was stupid or thinks I'm stupid. And that's why he filed the charges, because he thought I'd take the case, take the citation, pay the citation, and never look up my rights and figure out, hey, I have this freedom. So some cops used to do that in the 80s or the 70s or the 60s when they thought black people were too dumb to know whether or not they had a right to their freedoms, to their freedom of speech, or to what their freedom of speech was. I don't know. When was that? What was it, 1970s, when they established you can swear in public or profanities were, but black people weren't educated. It wasn't broadcasted or taught in schools that black people have a right to their freedoms or right to swear in public. And maybe 50 years later, another black guy, me, wouldn't know. Or maybe he just didn't care. Maybe this gay community supporting police officer didn't care about my rights, regardless of whether I knew my rights or not. And he probably thought that the city prosecutor and the judge who may hear the case would also support him violating someone's rights if they don't care. Like if you just don't care about the person, if you just don't care about the person who that was cited, if they fought for their rights, would you support them? Would you acknowledge that they have a right to swear and yell in public to express themselves, as long as they didn't have any threats? There were no threats. So that's a question I'm going to discover from the city prosecutor decided to the city prosecutor told me he was going to reopen he's going to submit a form that said I wanted to reopen the case to the judge. So today I got a notice that the judge decided to reopen the case, which kind of has good news, right? Kind of makes you feel good, because if there was no reason to reopen the case, it wouldn't be reopened, right? So I guess somebody thought I'd be too stupid to know my rights and to fight the case, because that's why I did the 25 hours of volunteer service. But then after the 25 hours of volunteer service, I learned I had a right to yell and swear in public. It's a freedom. It's a freedom of speech. Yelling is a freedom. Swearing is a freedom. Putting those two things together, you still have a freedom. So the city prosecutor was supposed to dismiss the case when it got to his desk. But instead of dismissing the case when it got to his desk, he decided to prosecute it. So it was his responsibility to say this is not a crime. And because he refused to say this is not a crime, he pretty much lied to the whole city of Madison and told everybody a crime was committed in the face of the law, in the face of reality. The reality is I have a First Amendment right. So the city prosecutor was supposed to tell everybody this is not a crime. But instead, he decided to tell everybody, this is a crime. So he didn't lie to me. He didn't lie to the judge. He didn't lie to himself. He lied to an entire city of people. That's the person who decided to not uphold my rights and prosecute a case that should have been thrown out. That's the city prosecutor. And his responsibility was first to tell the truth to the city and tell the truth to me and the judge. But he didn't do that. He told lies to everybody. This is a freedom of speech. And we're going to find out which way to... Oh, it's right there. It's posted right there. We're going to find out which way things work. Gay dude. Whenever you see somebody do this and look at you, they're telling you, we got you beat. Or it's sexual harassment. Well, we win with sexual harassment. If somebody licks their lips at you, they're basically telling you they win with sexual harassment. It's the way they fight. And there's really nothing you could do about sexual harassment because what can you do? It's not criminal. It's not illegal. And you could do it. You can sexually harass somebody very quickly. All right. Ring the bell. Oh.
Hi, can I help you?
Hello. I am here to submit a motion to dismiss.
Sure. Can I see it?
Yes.
And make sure it's what we need to...
Oh, I got to sign it.
Okay. That's no problem.
All right. All right. Let's sign this quickly. All right.
Okay, make sure it's what we need for you.
Okay.
Outside right now.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Well, it feels perfect. It's nice and breezy, but a little bit warm, so it's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah.
So, looks like this is set for an in-person trial on May 15th.
Yes.
Okay, we've got your address.
Yep.
Look at this to the judge.
Okay.
And we'll decide what to do after he tells us what to do.
Okay, cool.
Thanks. Have a nice day.
You too. Anyways, so that's what you do, man. You got to tell on these people. They're not supposed to. You're not supposed to charge somebody for freedom of speech. If the cop does it, you shouldn't. As a prosecutor, you should tell them, "Hey, man, that's not illegal. You can't do that." If the it doesn't, I shouldn't have to wake up and tell somebody, "Hey, this is not illegal." The prosecutor should have done it. And I think the judge gave me some good news. He said, "Hey, I got you. I got you, man. I'm the gravity of Madison." So whatever misconceptions are in the general public or in the prosecutorial office, I got you. I got you, dude. Because he reopened the case. So that's good news. That's all. That's always good news when you. So they'll sexually harass you, and then wait for you to leave so that they can have an opportunity for you to strike back. So if you felt like hitting somebody because they sexually harass you, you ain't got to worry about it. I mean, you do have to worry about it. So if you get sexually harassed and then they'll wait for you to do something about it later. So you go outside and that person is still out there looking at you, looking dead at your face. You know exactly what they're thinking about. What you gonna do about what I did in there? You know I did it. I'm gonna deny it, but you know I did it. What you gonna do about it? But yeah, so you who's supposed to throw the case out? It was supposed to be a immediate dismissal of right away. Dismiss the case right away. And the illusion of yelling and swearing does not create a disorderly conduct. You have to have threats. You have to threaten somebody. You have to, or violence has to happen because of what you said, or the potential for violence. And harassment requires following, requires a close proximity to the victim all the time. So that's the thresholds that nobody seemed to meet. That's the threshold that nobody seemed to meet when they wrote this citation and handed it to me. No one actually provided the details to support the citation. They just wrote one. And they thought I was too dumb to fight for my rights. But here I go. I'm going to post this and then keep it moving.